Ron Peter OG here with some prize picks for the day. Today's date is 8/11/2022. We're going to be looking at some players, props that I like for tonight. Go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and suggest to others. All those things will be greatly appreciated. Let's get right into it. The first player we're going to look at today is from the total base category, and we're going to be looking at Patrick Wisdom from Chicago Cubs. His prop on the night is 0.5 total bases. Let's make sure that. Yep. 0.5 total bases. These are players that I've pre-selected. So his prop on the night is 0.5 total bases. Let's look at him in props cash. Looks like he, in the last 30 days, he's hit that prop 53% of the time, 16 out of 30. Last 10, he's hit it 50% of the time. And the last 5, he's hit it 40%. Let's see what he's done against Washington this year. Out of 3 games against Washington, he's hit that prop 2 out of 3 times, and it's been in this series that we're in right now. Looks like he has a pretty favorable pitching matchup tonight. Let's look at him on the bat. And the bat is pretty bullish on him. They got him at 1.66 total bases. And they got his fantasy points up around 8.09. I'm going to note that. So he's looking like a pretty good candidate so far to go over from what I'm seeing. But we're going to check a few more places here to get a bit more information out of him. Let's look at what he's looking like on DraftKings. The books got him minus 120 to go over, under minus 110. I use this kind of a judge. I like heavy. If I see a heavy favorite minus 150, I'm definitely jumping on him. It's not going to work out all the time, but what I've noticed most of the time, it does work out. If they're going, minus 150 in the over or the under. You don't see that too much on Prizepicks. You can catch one every so often, but that has worked out for me in the past. So with Wisdom, and the bat is pretty bullish on him. Fantasylabs got him at 6.91 fantasy points. If he gets 6.91 fantasy points, basically, I would assume that he got a hit in there somewhere. So we need one hit from him tonight. Say out of his last 3 games against Washington, he's had at least 1 hit. Yeah, I'm leaning toward the over on Wisdom tonight. Yeah, I'm going to lean toward the over. Second player we're going to look at is from the Kansas City Chicago White Sox game, and it's going to be Nick Prado. Let's look at his last 30. Hit it 41% of the time. Let's look at his last 10. 40%. Last 5. 40% also against the White Sox. As you can see, he's only hit this 1 out of 6 times against the White Sox. And the time he hit it, he had 7 bases. That was back a couple days ago. He's going against a right-handed pitcher. I like to see all green up here. We do have a little red here. On the batting average, it's 182. Let's see, does he have any previous bats against this pitcher? He has nothing against this pitcher. Let's see what Prado looks like on the bat. That got him at 1.15. And by the way, his prop is 0.5 on the night. That got him at 1.15 total bases. Got his fantasy points at 5.77. That really, let's look at him on Fantasylabs. They got him at 5.47. And that really doesn't meet my criteria for, for going over. Let's look at what the books got him at. And we're looking at DraftKings here. Looking for Kansas City, not Chicago. DraftKings got him minus 105 to go over, under minus 125. From what I'm seeing for the numbers, I see, I'm not seeing his over. I would kind of lean with the under on this. I don't really like to put under 0.5s in my plays, but for what I see from him, he is under, and I'm really not sure if I will even mess with him tonight. I would probably stay away. From what I'm seeing, it's definitely I'm leaning toward the under on this one. Third player I'm looking at, we're going to go to the Cincinnati game, and we're going to look at Aristeas Iguano. Let's look at him. His prop on the night is 0.5 also. So against the team that he's playing, he's hit that 1 out of 2 games, and they're playing the Mets tonight. His last 30, he's hit it 47% of the time. His last 10, he's hit it 70% of the time. So he's played well in his last 10 games, as you can see. Just 3 games out of the last 10 where he didn't get at least one hit. Out of his last 5, again, 60% of the time throughout the 5 last games. Just looking at this, I'm not too confident about his pitching matchup here. Let's see, does he have any previous? He's been, I'm wrong here. He's He's faced him 9 times, and he has 3 home runs and 4 hits. So he has real good history against Drew Smiley. So this year, if I'm looking at this chart correctly, this year he hasn't had great success against left-handed pitching. Only 61 plate appearances, 2 doubles, 1 home run. Not bad. I mean, that's not bad for the amount of at-bats. But as you can see here, he has a 444 batting average against the pitcher he's facing today. 9 plate appearances. This is since 2017. 9 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 4 hits, 5 RBIs altogether. So that kind of changes the way I look at him. Now, that's actually decent. Let's see what the bat got him at. That got him at 1.24 total bases, 5.67 fantasy points. Let me note that down. I thought the bat may be a little bit more bullish on him than this. This really doesn't meet my criteria for selecting him to go over. So, I'm not too confident in the over, but I do like his success against the previous pitcher, against the pitcher he's facing today. Let's look at Fantasylabs. Let's see what Fantasylabs got him at. Fantasylabs got him at 7.13 fantasy points. So they like him almost 2 points, 2 fantasy points better than the bat. Very interesting. Let's see what DraftKings has him at. DraftKings got him minus 135 to go over 0.5 total bases, plus 100 to go under. Like I say, I just use these odds as a gauge of kind of seeing where the money's coming in on this. It's a good indicator that I like to use. I really like his previous success against the pitcher that he's facing, even though this year he's not doing too well against left-handed pitching. I'm going to lean toward the over on this one. I'm leaning toward the over. I could have changed my mind about this one, but I'm leaning toward the over on Aristeas Iguano. Hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So I'm leaning toward the over on him. All right, the last player we're going to look at from the total base section is going to be Geraldo Perdomo. Came through for me a couple days ago. Let's look at him today. It's Arizona versus Pittsburgh. He's 0.5 for the night. So as you can see in his last 5 games, he has a hit rate of 60%. Did not get a hit last night against Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's going to see pretty much the same thing against Pittsburgh. He's got a 67% hit rate of getting at least one total base. That's 4 out of 6 games this season. Let's look at the last 30. 47%. Pitching matchup looks to be a little bit in his favor here. Let's see, does he have any previous plate appearances against this pitcher? He has 2 plate appearances, and he hasn't done anything, no hits. So let's go to the bat. Let's see what the bat thinks about him tonight. Bat got him at 1.13 total bases. And they got him at 5.78 fantasy points. Again, this is a little bit below my what I like to see to get over 0.5 total bases. It's just my criteria, but I need to see a little bit more. Let's go to Fantasylabs. They got him at 6.12 fantasy points. That fits my criteria a little bit more, but he's definitely on the borderline tonight for me. Let's see what DraftKings have him at on the odds part of it. You got a minus 125 over, under minus 105. I do like that he did not get a hit last night. I like players, who don't get hit the previous game. They're going to try to get a hit this game, and his pitching matchup it isn't that well. Probably on this one, I would just stay away from him. Not enough information from me in either direction here. This is probably somebody I would just fade and not go with tonight. But if I had to make a selection here, it would probably be the over on Geraldo tonight. All right. Now we're going to look at some players for the hitter fantasy score. And the first player we're going to look at is going to be Kyle Schwarber for Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a run total today of 4.7 runs. First, we're going to look at his projection on the bat. Has a 9.8. Well, his prop for it is 6.5. He has a 9.82 projection, total bases of almost 2. I like that. I like the run total. Let's look at him on Fantasylabs. They got him at 8.31 projection with a ceiling of 28. I like that. I mean, they expect him to do something today. So for Cal, fantasy points 6.5. I'm leaning toward the over on Cal for that. Let me note this information down. This is Cal 9.82. Fantasylabs 8.31. Yeah, I'm leaning toward the over on Cal for hitter fantasy score. Again, his projection is 6.5. I'm going to go with the over on Cal for that. Sorry, there may be a little noise in the background. The lawn people are here. But we're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it moving. The second player I'm looking at for the hitter fantasy score is going to be from Houston, and it's going to be Alex Rickman. He has a prop of 7.5 tonight. Houston has a projected run total of 5.3 runs for this game. So let's go look at Bregman a little bit more. First, we're going to look at Bregman in the back. They got him at 7.90 total bases. I'm sorry, fantasy points for the night. Let's look at his history here. So in his last 5 games, he's had 9, 12, didn't have any fantasy points. 3 days ago, 7 and 10. So I think he goes. I mean, I'm leaning toward his over tonight. Let's look at him on. Let's look at him on Fantasylabs also. They got him at 9. Oops. They got him at 9.35 fantasy points. Let's look at him on DraftKings. Let's see. I'm pretty sure his total base prop is around 1.5. So let's see what they got him at. And then we'll look and see how he fares against the pitcher he's facing. Yeah, they got Alex Bregman, heavy favorite to go under. So the money's coming on him to go under 1.5 total bases. If he get 2 total bases, he's going to get his, he's going to get his 7.5 fantasy points. So let's also look at him on props cash to see where he's at with the total bases. So in his last, let's Let's look at his last 10. One hit against Texas. And that one hit resulted in, I think, he had one hit. Boom. Scored 2 runs, had a base on balls, gave him 9 fantasy points. Again, if I think they get 2 hits, which let's look at a game where he did get 2 hits. It resulted in 12 fantasy points. Boom, another game where he gets 2 hits, resulted in 10 fantasy points. Another game where he gets 2 hits, gets 10 fantasy points. And even here, if he gets on base, it seems like he gets on base, he's still having good results. 1 hit resulted in 9 fantasy points. That's because he scored a run. That's obviously because someone else, drove him in. But if he gets 2 hits, he's getting over 7.5 fantasy points. That's what the history's telling us. They got him at 1.57 hits. Money's coming in on him to go under. Pretty heavy to go under. Let's see how he looks against the pitcher he's facing. He doesn't do well against left-handers. As you can see, 196 batting average. All those are red. I would like to see all these green for the highlighted line, which is a left-handed pitcher. Let's see, does he have any previous meetings against this pitcher? He doesn't. Based on him not having any previous meetings with this pitcher, I think the pitcher may have the advantage. So this one I will probably stay away from. And if I had to make a guess on this one, it would probably be the under on this one. Again, Houston does have a 5.3 projected run total. No history against this pitcher. This pitcher may come in and just start giving up hits. I'm not sure. But I'm not really confident enough to say that Bregman is going to go over 7.5 fantasy points. Even though what I see, I do like. It seems like when he does get on base, just one hit, he gets us at least 8 or 9 fantasy points. But yeah, I may tend to fade him tonight and not use him in any of my plays. So, second player I'm looking at under the hitter fantasy score section for tonight is Jonathan India, Cincinnati. His fantasy score prop is 6 for tonight. Let's look at him on the bat. They got him at 7.94, 1.71 total bases, like that. Let's look at him on Fantasylabs. They got him at 8.93 fantasy points for tonight. So both got him pretty much over 6. Let me note that down. Let's go to props cash and see how he's fared in the last few games. Again, looks like a player. He doesn't fare too well against left-handed pitching. He's facing a left-handed pitcher tonight. Plate appearances 73, 2 doubles. That's really the only thing significant out of that. Like to see green down here, not red in this category. See how he's fared against this pitcher. He has 6 at-bats, 2 hits for a 333 batting average, and this is since the year 2017. Let's go back over here. Let's look at his fantasy points over the last few games. Two, three, nothing, 5, 9, 5, 3. Seems like he's not playing that well to me from what I'm seeing. And I'm not too sure about this pitching matchup. He does have 2 hits and 6 at bats, 333 average. But I'm not totally sure. Let's see where the money's coming in on him at. Plus 125 to go over 1.5 total bases. Minus 165 to go under. Kind of stay away from this one. Mr. India, 6 fantasy points isn't much. But not sure. Even though he does have good history against the pitcher, 333 batting average, 2 out of 6. I may fade this guy tonight also. And say the back got him at 7.94 projection. Fantasylabs 8.93. But I may stay away from him. I'm not sure about this one. Yeah, I'm probably going to fade him, not deal with him at all. Next section we're going to go to the strikeouts, and we're going to look at Dakota Hudson, St. Louis. His strikeout projection on the night is 3. So let's look at a little bit more of Dakota Hudson. First, we're going to go to props cash. Great information about strikeouts and pretty much everything else you need to know about a player here. And there's no information on Hudson here. Let's go to the bat. Bat got him at 2.42 strikeouts. Let's get a bit more of his history here. He's given us 2, 1, 3, 4, and 2 strikeouts in its last 5 games. Let's see if we can find. Let's look at his. Do we have anything for his player props here? Let's look at strikeouts. So in this last game, strikeouts, 255 minus 151, 6. Historical props against. Only thing they got here is for the New York St. Louis game on 8-5. His line was 3.5. He actually got 2 strikeouts. Let's see if we can find a little bit more information about him over here on RotoWire. So last game against Philly, July 9th. Guess he's coming back off an injury. He had 4. Friday at 2, 3, 2. So it looks like he's coming back off an injury, I'm assuming, since he hasn't. Well, I may be wrong about that. I'm sorry. He's not coming back off injury. I wasn't looking at everything. So in his last 5 games, he's had 2, 1, 3, 4 strikeouts. His prop on the night is 3. Bat got him at 2.42. Let's see what Fantasylabs got him at. Got him at 12.39 fantasy points. They got him at 4.34 Ks. So the bat, Fantasylabs think he'll get to his Ks. The bat doesn't. Let me note that. To me here, it's looking more like we could maybe see a push at 3. So Dakota is probably a player that I would stay away from on the strikeouts. All right, the last player we're going to look at is going to be Framber Valdez. And we're going to look at his strikeouts. He's Houston pitcher. His projected strikeouts for the day is 6.5 strikeouts. Let's go ahead and look at him on the bat. On the props cash. He's went over 6.5 strikeouts 50% of the time in this last 10 games. Let's look at him on the season. 6.5, 38% of the time, 8 out of 21. Let's look at him against versus Texas. He's went over 1 out of 2 times back on 5/19. He had 7 strikeouts prior to that. He had 5. Over here, this looks good for the pitcher. This is in green. Texas is not very good against left-handed pitching. Let's go down to his innings pitched. It seems like some of the batters he's facing today, he's done decent against him. He's pitched 7 and 6 innings against Texas. Let's look at his last 34 innings. So he's pitched, over six innings most of the time. He's went over in his last few games. In his last 3 games, he's went over 6 innings. Still, that hasn't really translated. Well, it translated in 2 out of the 3 games to over 6.5 strikeouts. So you really don't know how that's going to turn out. Let's see how the series is going against Texas. Sorry about that. The phone was ringing. Let's see how the series is going against Texas here. So Texas won last night. Astros won the 2 previous games before that. And this is a tough one also. Let's look at him on the bat. They got him at 6.87 strikeouts. They got him at 6.46 strikeouts. It's a tight one. Let's see what the books got him at. Bush got a minus 130 to go over 6.5, under 6.5, plus 100. Pretty tight to me. Um, I'm actually leaning toward the over a little bit on this one. I kind of like the, I'm sorry, not the over, but the under. I'm leaning toward the under on this one. Under 6.5 strikeouts. Seems like a lot to me tonight. So those are a few players I've been looking at, and that's my analysis on them and my suggestions for them. Hey, if this video format helps you, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. That's all I have for right now. Until the next video, peace.